The Australian Football League, or AFL, the heart of Aussies footy. It's more than a game, it's a national passion. But recently a storm has hit the league, exposing a dark secret that could change everything. In March 2024, Australian MP Andrew Wilkie dropped a bombshell in Parliament. He alleged that the AFL has a secret illicit drugs policy allowing clubs to conduct private tests on players. If a player tests positive, they're quietly pulled from games under the guise of injury to avoid official detection and penalties. This isn't just rumor. It's backed by claims from former Melbourne Demons Dr. Zeeshan Arain and ex-president Glenn Bartlett. The policy, meant to help players with drug issues, has been twisted, according to critics. Wilkie claims up to 100 players might be involved, with the league protecting stars to keep the game going. AFL CEO Andrew Dillon denied cover-ups but admitted to off-the-books testing. This has outraged fans, players, and even the Australian government, who are now investigating. Is this about player welfare or hiding the truth to protect the billion-dollar industry? The scandal has led to calls for transparency, with some saying it erodes trust in the sport we love. This isn't the first controversy for AFL think racism allegations at Hawthorn or past drug busts. But this one hits hard, questioning the league's integrity. Players like Harley Balic's family have spoken out, linking it to mental health tragedies. The fallout? Potential reforms, fines, or even a full policy overhaul. Aussies footy is tough, but can it survive this hit? As we wrap up this dive into the AFL's latest storm, the illicit drugs policy scandal that's rocking the foundations of Aussies footy, it's impossible to ignore the ghosts of controversies past. This isn't an isolated thunderclap, it's the latest rumble in a long line of tempests that have tested the league's soul. Let's peel back the layers, drawing from history's playbook to understand why this moment feels like a tipping point. Buckle up, footy fans, because the story of AFL's dark side is a saga of highs, lows, and hard lessons that demand we confront the truth if the game is to endure. Cast your mind back to 2013, when the Essendon supplements saga exploded like a grenade in the heart of the competition. The Bombers, chasing glory under coach James Hird, embarked on what they called an innovative supplements program. But whispers turned to roars when it emerged that players were injected with substances like thymosin beta-4, a peptide banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA. The fallout was cataclysmic. An AFL investigation, ASADA probes, and ultimately the suspension of 34 players for the entire 2016 season. Essendon was fined, fast forward to the racism storm at Hawthorn in 2022, a chapter that still stings like a fresh bruise. An independent cultural review, commissioned by the club, unearthed harrowing allegations from Indigenous former players. Cyril Rioli, a four-time premiership hero, claimed he was subjected to racist treatment, including being nicknamed Boy, and facing pressure to conform to non-Indigenous norms. Other stories were even more gut-wrenching, families allegedly torn apart, with players like one anonymous figure reportedly advised to encourage his partner to terminate a pregnancy to focus on football. The review implicated coaching legends Alistair Clarkson and Chris Fagan, who denied the claims but faced AFL scrutiny. The league launched a panel investigation, but it dragged on amid leaks and legal threats, culminating in no formal findings of guilt. Yet the damage was done. Indigenous players across the AFL spoke out, highlighting systemic issues from casual slurs in the stands to unequal opportunities. This wasn't just Hawthorn's problem. It rippled league-wide, prompting the AFL to introduce cultural awareness, training, and reconciliation action plans. But for many, it felt like too little, too late. Adam Goode's 2015 ordeal flashed back into memory. That relentless booing from crowds, interpreted as racial vilification, which drove the Sydney Swan star into early retirement. Goodes, a proud Indigenous Australian of the Year, performed a war cry celebration that ignited backlash, exposing the underbelly of prejudice in a sport that prides itself on inclusivity. The AFL's slow response then, much like now, fueled accusations of protecting the status quo over real change. These racism sagas underscore a pattern. When the league sweeps issues under the rug, they resurface as stronger, eroding the fan base's faith and alienating the diverse communities that make footy great. And let's not forget the drug demons that have haunted the AFL for decades, a thread that ties directly to today's scandal. Ben Cousins' fall from grace in the mid-2000s remains a cautionary tale. The West Coast Eagles captain, a Brownlow medal winner and premiership star, spiraled into methamphetamine addiction, leading to traffic offenses, rehab stints, and a 2007 suspension. His story ended in tragedy, jail time, and public breakdowns, but it highlighted the league's early struggles with substance abuse. The AFL introduced its illicit drugs policy in 2005 partly in response, aiming for a three-strike system with confidential testing. Yet, cases kept coming. In 2015, Collingwood's Lachlan Keefe and Josh Thomas copped 2-year bans for clenbuterol, a performance enhancer disguised as a party drug. More heartbreaking are the links to mental health crises. Shane Tuck, a Richmond and Hawthorn player, took his own life in 2020. An autopsy revealed severe CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, from repeated concussions compounded by substance use. Then there's the fresh wound of Cam McCarthy's death in May 2024. The 29-year-old former Fremantle and GWS forward passed away suddenly, with tributes pouring in amid speculation about his battles with epilepsy and personal demons. While not directly tied to drugs, it amplified calls for better support systems, much like the family of Harley Balic, a former Melbourne player who died in 2022 from a drug overdose. Balic's mother has publicly linked his struggles to the AFL's handling of testing and welfare, accusing the league of failing vulnerable athletes. These aren't isolated tragedies. They're symptoms of a system where pressure to perform clashes with human frailty, and where policies like the current one, allegedly allowing secret tests and fake injuries, might prioritize game day rosters over real help. Other shadows loom too. The 2018 betting scandal involving St. Kilda's Jake Carlisle, fined for insider information leaks, or the ongoing gender equity fights like the 2023 pay disputes in the AFLW. Even governance flops, such as the 2020 COVID hub breaches by players like Richmond's Sydney Stack, who faced bans for protocol violations during the pandemic season. Each of these echoes the current crisis, a league built on passion and physicality, but plagued by off-field lapses that threaten its integrity. So what does this history teach us about the illicit drug scandal? It's a mirror reflecting unresolved flaws. MP Andrew Wilkie's revelations, secret tests, protected players, and potential cover-ups involving up to 100 athletes aren't new. They're evolution of past sins. The AFL's admission of off-the-books testing, defended as welfare-focused, rings hollow against the Essendon precedent, where innovation masked risks. Fans are right to demand transparency. If the league can overhaul after Hawthorn's racism probe or Cousins' downfall, why not now? Reforms could include independent oversight, public disclosure of policies, and stronger links to mental health services like Beyond Blue, which the AFL partners with. Imagine a future where players like Balic or McCarthy get proactive support, not reactive excuses. Adopt WADA-aligned independent testing, severing club influence to ensure fairness, much like how these other leagues clawed back from the brink. But borrowing blueprints is just the start. Let's drill down into how the AFL could implement these lessons, transforming scandal into salvation and securing a legacy that honors both the game's grit and its guardians. Imagine the AFL commissioning an external body, akin to the NFL's independent neurologists' post-concussion settlements, to oversee all drug testing. No more whispers of secret pulls for injuries. Every test would be transparent, with results fed into a secure, anonymized database accessible to players, clubs, and regulators. This isn't pie in the sky, it's proven. Take the UCI's response to cycling's doping dark ages. After Armstrong's 2012 downfall, they introduced biological passports, ongoing blood profiles that flag irregularities without invasive surprises. The AFL could adapt this for illicit drugs, monitoring biomarkers for substances like cocaine or methamphetamine, which Wilkie claims have infiltrated up to 100 players. Paired with rehabilitation, as in the NRL's model, it would shift from punishment to prevention. Andrew Johns, the rugby immortal, credits his post-ecstasy recovery to the league's balanced approach, counseling without immediate bans, which helped him rebuild. For the AFL, this means expanding its three-strikes policy into a recovery pathway, where first positives trigger mandatory therapy, not cover-ups. Critics like former Dr. Zishan Arain argue the current system enables addiction. A reformed one could save lives, preventing echoes of Balic's overdose or McCarthy's untimely death. Now, consider the ripple effects on the game's ecosystem: fans, clubs, and the bottom line. Scandals erode trust, as seen in the goods-booing saga, where attendance dipped amid boycotts. A reformed AFL could counter this with fan engagement, digital platforms for voting on policy changes like the NBA's fan councils. Transparency reports, modeled on MLB's post-steroid transparency, would detail drug stats without naming names, rebuilding credibility. Clubs, often the scandal sources, think Collingwood's past drug bans, would face incentives, bonuses for clean records, penalties for breaches. This could foster a culture shift, where coaches like Clarkson, post-Hawthorn scrutiny, prioritize ethics training. Globally, compare to soccer's Premier League, which bounced back from match-fixing by partnering with Interpol for investigations. The AFL could ally with Sport Integrity Australia, turning federal probes into collaborative wins. Economically, it's smart. The league's broadcast deal hinges on viewership. A clean footy brand could attract international fans, expanding to markets like Asia, where scandals deter growth. Challenges? Plenty. Pushback from traditionalists who view reforms as softening the game's toughness, the same mindset that delayed action on Goods or Cousins. Legal hurdles loom. If Wilkie's allegations lead to lawsuits like the NFL's class actions, the AFL could face multi-million-dollar payouts. Implementation costs money, potentially hiking ticket prices and alienating working-class fans. Yet history favors the bold. Rugby's NRL thrived post-scandals by blending zero tolerance with compassion, boosting participation rates. The AFL could follow, piloting reforms in the VFL before league-wide rollout, testing waters without chaos. Envision the payoff, a brighter AFL horizon. Young talents like Harley thrive in a supportive system, free from hidden pressures. Diverse lineups, post-racism reforms inspire generations. Tragedies become rarities, not headlines. This scandal, like Essendon's, could be the pivot, from secrecy to sunlight, weakness to strength. Fans, your role? Demand it through petitions, social media, and support for ethical sponsors. The game's soul depends on it. In closing, Aussies footy is resilient. It survived wars, depressions, and scandals before. But survival demands evolution. This drugs policy mess isn't just about positive tests. It's about trust, the invisible bond between players, clubs, and the millions who live for the siren. As investigations roll on from Parliament to League HQ, let's hope for a cleaner game. What do you reckon, footy faithful? Is this the wake-up call the AFL needs, or just another storm to weather? Hit like, share your stories, and subscribe for more unfiltered takes on the sport we can't quit. Footy's forever, but only if we make it fair. Until next time, go hard, play fair, and keep the faith.